Yo, what it do, YouTube? This video might get me flamed, I ain't gonna lie, but I have a lot to say about Palworld. This was originally going to be a review, but with the wall a section of the internet has erected to fight against the idea of Palworld, we gotta pivot. The question we're tackling today is Pocket Pair, Palworld's developer, morally in the wrong for the development decisions they've made, and if they are, should we as consumers care as long as they aren't infringing on anyone's IP? To begin this, I think we need some background, specifically on Pocket Pair. Funny enough, this is the second game they've made that I'm discussing, because several years back, during the height of the pandemic, I made a review on their earlier title, Craftopia, another Ark-esque game complete with automation and a tech tree. Complete might be the wrong word here, because that game barely exists, if I'm being honest. Initially, it had a ton of great ideas and concepts, but the actual game had issues. For one, the combat was ass. It was unbalanced, clunky, and bugs were very prevalent, not to mention the sheer number of Unity store content basically carrying the game to term. At the time, I called it a wellspring of potential. Too bad, all these years later, it's still just potential. But all the DNA from that game, itself borrowing DNA from Ark and other survival game contemporaries like Conan, was put into Palworld. The same design sensibilities were also placed into Palworld, triggering complaints about asset flips and AI. But what do they mean? An asset flip game is a game using pre-existing assets generally found on the storefront for whatever engine the game is using. For instance, Unity and Unreal both offer a storefront filled with purchasable animations, models, and textures to be used in the creation of games. Basically, you take those assets and flip them into a game, and you get an asset flip game. It's also 100% an insult to the game. Palworld does feature some Unreal Store animation work and environmental detail, but that in and of itself doesn't imply it's an asset flip game. The storefront for assets exists for developers to use them. It is a dumb point to complain about a developer using basic assets for things like animations and environmental detail when the time saved could be better spent on actually other important aspects of the game. For as much as they used Unreal Store assets, custom animations still had to be created for over 100 pals. The amount of work involved in bringing even a single pal to life, making them perform tasks, making them swim, making them attack, and even freaking sleeping or eating was probably astronomical. Calling this game that took 3 years to simply enter early access an asset flip game is wrong and rude to the developers that actually poured their heart and soul into the game. Some assets from the Unreal Store is not making 100 plus pals playable, respectfully. And then there's the other complaint, AI. As you all know, generative AI is here and has been here for a while. The issue, AI models are trained on pre-existing art to create new works from that pre-existing model. Back when Stable Diffusion was trending, a higher up at Pocket Pair made the unfortunate mistake of having an opinion on the internet. The same mistake I'm probably making right now. His opinion, he couldn't wait for AI to help revolutionize the process of making games. Innocent opinion that was made over a year after the first trailer for Palworld. A trailer where you could already see several pals existing, by the way. However, once a certain section of the internet got a hold of those tweets, it was over. They were accusing Pocket Pair of using AI to create their pals due to similarities between the pals and Pokemon, when frankly, that just isn't the case. No generative AI at the moment trained on Pokemon can spit out usable Fakemon based on those pre-existing concepts yet, and the work required to train an AI on that data is frankly beyond the ability of a small studio of Japanese devs that literally didn't know how to rig a model prior to going on a hiring spree for Palworld. What's more likely is the next topic, plagiarism, which needs no introduction. This is where I think Palworld really stands in regards to any wrongdoings when it comes to how the game was developed. The actual game design and progression was basically taken one for one from modern survival games like Ark, but so many survival games do what Ark does now that it's unfair to place the blame solely on Pocket Pair. But the designs for the pals are absolutely inspired by Pokemon in one way or another. Some of the pal models were also clearly traced using Pokemon models, which isn't illegal or infringing on the Pokemon Company's IP, but it can definitely be seen as somewhat scummy. The counterpoint though, would people want to play or care about the game if the pals weren't Pokemon-like? One of the points I kept seeing on Twitter in regards to people choosing Palworld as the monster collector to rally behind was that it was the wrong choice and that there were so many other monster collectors people could choose to play that they just aren't playing. Games like Dragon Quest Monsters, Temtem, and Cassette Beats. But I think the issue goes deeper. I don't think the majority of people care about collecting monsters. I think they care about collecting Pokemon, or more specifically, monsters with Pokemon-like aesthetics. There is a certain cartoony aspect about the art style and visual style of Pokemon that resonates with people, and without that style, it's difficult to gravitate toward another monster collector. After all, someone who makes a team with Pikachu, Clefairy, Togepi, Dratini, and fricking Spinda isn't gonna want to be on Shin Megami Tensei catching fricking the demon Satan to do battle. It's a whole different shit. In this case specifically, getting as close to Pokemon as humanly possible was the best end goal, because the masses don't care unless they look and act like Pokemon. Now you add on the guns, and you're joining your Pokemon in battle, you're picking it up and using it like a flamethrower, it's traveling the world with you and you're fighting with it. It's almost a different level of camaraderie when your gun is your Pokemon. Did Pocket Pair take too much inspiration for their POW designs from Pokemon? Yes, absolutely. Morally speaking, they did. But should that stop us as consumers from buying and partaking in the game? I don't think so. At the end of the day, the actual intellectual property of Pokemon was not infringed upon, so there is no legal issue. And if these POWs did not look like Pokemon, people would simply not care about the game. Palworld is currently placing pressure on the Pokemon company that no other monster collector could hope of doing, and that comes down to the designs being close enough for people to feel like they're playing Pokemon. If there's anyone to blame here, it's the Pokemon company for indoctrinating 3 generations of humans and making them incapable of liking other monster collectors, and I'ma stand on that. This has been a Metal Mega video. Peace.